True. Nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous I had been and am, but why will you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. All above was the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in the heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Listen and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none, passion there was none. I loved her. She had never wronged me. She had never given me insult. For her money I had no desire. But very gradually I made up my mind to take her life and thus rid myself of her forever. Now this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight I went to work. I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. With a loud yell, I threw open the door and leapt into the room. In an instant, I pulled the pillow over her face. She shrieked once only. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. She was dead. She would trouble me no more. If you still think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily but in silence. When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock, still dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the door. I moved with haste and deposited all underneath the sofa. No human eye could have detected anything wrong. I went down to open the door. What had I now to fear? There stood 2 men who introduced themselves as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night, and they had been sent to search the premises. I smiled. I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. My wife, I mentioned, was absent in the country. They sat, and I answered cheerily, but I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but they still sat. The ringing became more distinct, until, at length, I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice, yet the sound increased, and what could I do? I gasped for breath. Yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. This noise continually increased. It grew louder, 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 and still the men sat. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no, no, they heard. They suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, but anything was better than this agony. I could bear those looks no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. Louder, louder, louder! Villains! I shrieked! It is the beating of her hideous heart!